Hey folks, I hope you're having a nice day. Crosshair placement is such a crucial fundamental skill in VALORANT because the whole point of it is to reduce the amount you actually have to aim whenever you encounter an enemy. The farther you have to flick your mouse to aim, the more likely you are to miss, and the longer it takes to shoot your shot. By reducing the amount you have to aim to essentially nothing, you more often set yourself up for way easier shots, which leads to more consistent performance. More consistent performance leads to winning more games, and we all know what happens when you start to win more games. I really do think it's safe to say that if you're in some of the lowest competitive ranks, focusing on improving your crosshair placement alone will start to provide some really positive results for your overall performance. The concept of good crosshair placement is really simple, but you should think of it like a craft that always needs attention and improvement. You'll see in a lot of my examples that I'm not even close to perfect at it, but just doing it at all goes a really long way. I'll go over exactly how to do it in just a second, but what really helped crosshair placement click for me was seeing visual examples of it in action, which show how important it is. So I'll try to show a few of those too. The basic idea behind proper crosshair placement is that you always want your crosshair to be snapped or stuck to the edge of the wall from which the enemy is most likely to appear at. This allows us to be ready to stop and shoot as soon as an enemy does appear, and ideally the enemy head just appears right underneath our crosshair and all we have to do is stop and click. Remember, the main idea is to reduce the amount we have to flick our mouse when we want to stop and shoot. By hardly needing to move our mouse to aim, we're going to greatly improve our consistency and reliability for hitting our shots. In addition to this, always keep your crosshair at head height. Getting a first bullet headshot in this game gives you an immediate advantage in any engagement, and keeping your crosshair at head level is what makes this as easy as possible. Proper crosshair placement, like I just described, should be the foundation of your aiming style, and it is what you should be focusing on as a beginner or a lower ranked player. But the real nuances of your playstyle will start to emerge when over time you get a better sense of when to sprinkle in the other aiming styles, such as pre-aiming and how you choose to hold angles. Now let's look at a couple key visual examples of why crosshair placement is so important, and just to give you a better feel of what it looks like in action. So let's say we're defending and we want to push out of hookah to get some mid control. A pretty common approach might be something like this. We pre-aim the double box, and then once we clear that, we pre-aim the mid to B entrance. And that makes a lot of sense because those are common spots for enemies to be positioned at. But what if there's an enemy here, either pushing up or holding an off angle? Well, now we have to stop and react to that guy, and since our crosshair is already placed for the entrance angle, we have to flick over to them, which is really lowering our chances of hitting that shot and winning that engagement. It also takes time for us to stop and flick, which is time that the enemy is probably not going to be spending, because there's a really good chance that the enemy is going to have their crosshair positioned for us to peek out from hookah. Now let's look at how this situation would play out with better crosshair placement. We have our crosshair glued to the edge of the wall, we stop and peek the enemy at double stack and get an easy shot on them. Then as we're continuing on our way down to the mid to B entrance, we catch another guy who ends up right under our crosshair, so we just have to stop and click. We continue on to the entrance, and if there happens to be an enemy there too, we're ready for him. Crosshair placement also applies when utility skills like Sage's ice walls or Brimstone's smokes are in play. Treat these obstacles just like you would any other wall, keeping in mind that the enemy might choose to go through them or on top of them rather than around. In this example, I knew that Jet was behind this double stack, and I heard her use her updraft ability, so as soon as I realized what was going on, I positioned my crosshair to where I thought she would be, and I got the easy, maybe a little bit lucky, shot off on her. Having good crosshair placement goes hand in hand with game sense and map awareness, so focusing on your crosshair placement will naturally lead to improving your skills in those areas as well. This is very useful in defensive scenarios too, so here's a great example of that, which is from one of the first matches which I played in the closed beta. So I'm the last alive and I just planted for A short. I hear my teammate call one heaven, so knowing that I want to peek it, I snap my crosshair to that edge and peek the angle and catch him out in the open for an easy shot. Now I'm not in the most ideal post-plant position because I'm now vulnerable from sight, U-haul, and A short, but I don't really have the time to reposition too far, so I try to find a good spot to play by minimizing the amount of angles that I can be seen from. That leads me to this double stack, and I end up hearing the footsteps of the enemy pushing up from short, so I position my crosshair for that enemy, and sure enough she peeks and I get a super easy shot. My teammate mentions that Phoenix was last seen U-haul, so I know exactly where I need my crosshair to be, and sure enough, 3 super easy kills for what initially looked like a really tough post-plant situation. I really think the best way to practice is just by trying it and working on it during your competitive matches. But if that's too much pressure, or you want a less hectic practice scenario, jump into a custom game on whichever map you want to learn, and practice going around the map with good crosshair placement. I think this is a great exercise, but like I said, nothing beats just practicing it in your normal matches. Once you start to understand the general idea of crosshair placement, you'll start to catch yourself when you could be improving it, and eventually you'll start to form a good habit. Along the way, you might surprise yourself at how much better at the game you're getting overall. Thanks for sticking with me, have fun, and enjoy the game.